If you guys saw that recent summoning video, you guys would know how hyped that was. And it's gonna be even more hype showing off Virelia. So if you guys want to know what she's all about and how to build her, then you've come to the right place. So with her talent, she does more damage. After taking action, if no attack was made on a turn, she can perform a spell preparation to straighten the next skill. One of them is Eradicate, that focuses on damage, but it's just a double attack. Agglomerate, whatever how you say it, increases her range. Catalyze reduces skill cooldown. Any buffs on her do not lose their turn duration and can act again moving 2 blocks, which has a cooldown. Each time a different spell preparation effect from the last is performed, her range increases to a max of 2. So yeah, this whole thing really reminds you of Isolde, but it has its pros and cons. I do want to point out that getting her permanent range is pretty annoying. Not hard by any means, just time consuming. Her best class will be the left side. It's more offensive since she gets more skill. Plus she does get increased AoE damage from her bond effects. Meanwhile the right side just makes her a bit more defensive. So for the first two, you want HP, int, and defense. The last two you want HP, int, and skill. With the arena stones, you can do an offensive set, or you can maybe try to do something balanced like HP, int, defense, crit damage res, and either crit rate or crit damage. Her best soldiers will be the Wild Expedition to deal with flies better. They can also get 20% more defense if you're either on grass or water, which is good on like certain maps. Fairy as a consistent damage dealing soldier. Sorcerers will be her best damage dealing soldiers, but they need to be at full HP. Sky Archer for the flying movement. Then you got Crystal Warlock, which is her best defensive soldier since they have sustainability and can reflect physical attacks. Her best weapon will be the Miracle Staff for AoE damage. If not for that, then you can use Red Moon, Ether for the extra range on the single target skill, Night Bloom, which is very situational for the spelling stuff, then you have Blue Moon. If not for any of these, then anything to increase her int will be fine, until eventually you get one of the best in slots. Her best armor is really only the Tenyos. If you don't have any of those, then Nebulous Robe just for the HP, Galaxy Cloak will have to do if you don't have any of those. Her best helmet will be the Star Crown for the damage, but you do need a healer for its effect, so it can be unreliable if you don't always have a healer next to her. Support options include Tenyos for the random buff, Electric Headwear for the displacement immunity, Earmuffs for the damage res and fixed damage immunity. Then survivability options, you can use Glory for the revive for fixed damage, and Dark Crown. With the best accessory, you can use Vidar's Rose to dispel buffs, Dimensional Jewel for the skill cooldown, Holy Ring to avoid being silenced, and Drop Near for PvP. Though in my opinion, I don't think it's gonna be as crazy, at least right now, until eventually we get more ranged characters. As per her best enchants, Magic for damage, to be more consistent, you can use Clock, and even Breeze. The best enchant stats that you want on her will be HP, int, and defense. Accessory you can do skill instead, but just always focus on having tons of HP and int. Alright, so hopefully you guys have an idea on how to build your Virelia, so let's get right on into her first awakening stage. Alright, for this stage, you're going to be up against Virelia, Andriel, and then Patricia. So a skill that you want is going to be her revive skill, and then you can do 2 single target skills. But I do recommend having Dark Reaper the most because of the healing. So if you do want to include AoEs for the chip damage, then Heaven Sanction will be the best one since it has more range. Or if you feel like Earthquake is going to help you a lot to lower their offensive stats, so that they deal less damage. The soldiers that you want to use is the Sorceress, they can do tons of damage. The Crystal Warlock, you're not going to be doing a lot of damage, but you can survive extremely well with these guys. And then you have Sky Archer, which you can do a cheese strat, which I will show you guys. Alright, so the cheese strat that I want to show you guys is first turn on the danger zone so that you know where you're going. And then we're just going to go to the left side. You can go to the right side if you want, but I'm just more used to going to the left side. And then don't use any of her talent skill yet. Just save it. We are going to be using it, but now is not the right time. So just keep on going to the left or right side. Just still don't do anything yet. And it's at this point right here that you do want to use it, because Virelia does have an AoE that reaches 4 blocks long. And then you do want to pick the blue one. Don't pick the middle one. Don't pick the last one, because they will kind of like delay you. So after you do that, just move up until eventually you reach the sky block. And then your turn on here will make it so that the enemies will have no clue what to do. So they just stand there. So you see that Virelia just did nothing right there. So now it's at the point where if your talent got refreshed, simply just end her turn. And now you can use her range skill, the middle one. So pick that one just to stay out of Virelia's range. And this also makes it so that her range increases permanently by 1. And then we are going to choose Spell Fusion, because since that we got 2 of her talent skill, After using this, she will be able to refresh the talent cooldown. So go ahead and use this. You are going to be in Seraphina's AoE range, but as long as you're able to survive one hit from it, that's fine. If you do have to use AoEs to make sure that you do one-shot her, then just simply wait until the range comes back. So yeah, after using that skill, we can immediately use her talent skill again. So we can go ahead and let her act again. I'm just gonna go ahead and choose range. If you do use eliminate, the blue one, I think it's called eliminate or eradicate, then that's totally fine. Patricia did move because I did stand on the path area. So if that happens, just go back on the sky tile and then she won't do anything. Simply just wait until his talent refreshes again, and then you're gonna go ahead and pick her range again. Patricia does have AoEs, so just stay out of her range, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get in her range and then finish her off. You can simply just wait until you get that second permanent range, unlike I did, but I was kind of impatient, so I wanted to end it quick. Plus I knew I can kill them pretty easily. This strat is pretty slow, but it is extremely safe. So yeah, if anyone is having a rough time dealing with this one, then there you go. Hopefully this strat helped you out. Here we are with the Thxs. That's 4-turn cooldown that reaches 3 blocks. The passive on it, after dealing damage with the skill, she does fixed damage. If the target's HP is not higher than 20%, the fixed damage ignores immunity. It's an AoE skill that applies 2 random debuffs. For each enemy eliminated, performs 1 random spell preparation after taking action, which is really nice. Plus has really strong kill confirm too. So if you add all of that on top of that elimination skill, the one that lets you do like a double attack, then that's going to be extremely powerful. Which is why you can build her to be extremely offensive so that she can pull off a kill. She is very capable of that. She can do some insane damage. Alright, so if you guys are curious, this is what her 3C animation looks like. So for the second awakening stages, this is actually one of the few ones where I feel like it is a bit tricky, because like the skills that you get from the characters that they give you are really weird, especially for Nemia. It's probably best if I just explain it on the way it goes. So what I first did was have Precia use her 1C on Virelia because you couldn't really use it on anyone else, so just do that the first thing you can, which becomes unnecessary for me at least, but for some of you guys it may prove useful. So the next thing after that is that I have Virelia buff herself up with her strengthen skill, and then use the elimination skill so that she can perform a double attack. And then I did use Heaven Sanction, but for some of you guys, if they are giving you a rough time, then I would really recommend using Earthquake first so that you lower the damage. And then next after that, you can use Nemia, you can use her talent, and then just have Roland use his AoEs on them, and then he can also provide debuffs as well. Not really as bad as you would think it may be, because you can immediately provide pressure. And then I did eventually lose Roland because of the displacement, but it's totally fine. They're already weakened, so Virelia does have another AoE that I have on her, so I just go ahead and use that, and then there we go. So yeah, your own Virelia is going to be useful here. And even Roland, I would advise keeping him alive, because providing those debuffs will be really essential. Those two are going to be more useful than Nemia and Precia. They barely did anything for me. One of those rare occasions where I do show off the second awakening stages. Doesn't happen a lot, it's very extremely rare. But yeah, hopefully this helped some of you guys out. So anyways, let's get right on into her showcase. Alright, so here we are. Let's take a look at her talent. She does more damage. If no attack was made on this turn, perform spell preparation to strengthen the next skill. She can choose eradicate to focus on damage, agglomerate to increase her range, catalyze to reduce skill cooldown. Any buffs on her do not lose their turn duration, and can act again moving 2 blocks, which will have a cooldown. Each time a different spell preparation effect from the last is performed, her range increases to a max of 2. So we go ahead and end her turn, and the thing about what it says on like the description of it doesn't exactly tell you exactly what those talent effect does. So we go ahead and hold and select the blue one, which gives her eradicate. So whenever she uses a skill, she can attack a second time, performing a double attack. But when using an AoE skill, the skill span is reduced by 1. This thing ignores immunity, cannot be dispelled, and will last until she uses an attack. So if we go ahead and select that one, you will figure out what you have by simply just selecting on the character herself, and then it will count towards a buff. So by simply clicking Heaven Sanction, instead of the usual by range, it is now a 4 range. So if we do go ahead and use the skill, it'll do 1 attack, we got 5k right there, and then it'll do another one. But the second half, the second part of the attack, the damage you deal is half. And now we go ahead and check Virelia now, she lost the eradicate buff. So any skill to skill span like Earthquake or other AoE, you can see that it reaches around 3 blocks. I know it looks like 2, but if we do actually look at Earthquake itself, it has a skill span of 4. So you count the area that where you selected the enemy at, count everything else. So you count 1 in the center of where you'll be selecting the skill at, and then you count everywhere else. So at the center is 1, everything around 2, and 3. Single target skills do work too. So we'll have Dark Reaper right here. So it does 17,000 and then does a lot less than that, even with the crit too. It is going to be a talent skill that you're going to be using very so often, like at least 70-90% of the time, because she can output some insane damage from that. And the other time you are going to be using Agglomeration. So whenever she uses an attack skill, range increases by 2, but she can only move in a straight line. Yeah, the range kind of makes up for it, but at the same time, it makes moving around really awkward. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I can only move left, right, up, and down, and if I choose like a skill, it can go extremely far. Plus, if you do max out her permanent range, it's gonna be like on par with Girl in the Shell. Even though Eradicate is gonna be the first skill that you're gonna be choosing, in areas like in PvP, this skill could be like a second choice if you somehow are patient enough to wait that long. The only time I can see you picking the skill the first thing is if you're in a situation where you're just trying to pluck out the enemies, just picking off any stragglers. And the last one, Catalyze, whenever using an attack skill, its cooldown is reduced by 3. Whenever she uses other spell preparation, the trigger cooldown is increased by 1 additional turn. So yeah, for right now, if you do use it, you won't really notice anything for right now. But if you somehow get into a position where she has not done anything throughout the whole duration of her talent cooldown, the next time you use a talent skill, that will be on a 4-turn cooldown. But if you're at like 5 or 6 stars, it will be a 3-turn cooldown. So because now I have to wait 4 turns rather than the usual 3 or 2 turns for it to refresh, or 2 or 1 depending on like where your star level is at after her again ends. It is very good, but it is very unlikely that you'll somehow get to that position where you actively initiate it from her talent, because Virelia is going to be someone that wants to attack very often because she's an attacker. And the thing about her permanent range works is something that I really dislike. So you can see the Eradicate buff on her, and then the next time that I actually choose it again, you don't get that permanent buff. You see that her range is still 2. You have to actually like choose something else. You'll see it like actually glow, telling you, hey, if you do this, you'll get something out of it. So if you do that, you'll see a buff popped up in her. If we go ahead and check that out, look at that, more range. Now her range is permanently 3. So we'll go ahead and end her turn again. You can see that her talent is still glowing, still telling you, hey, if you select one of us, you'll get something. So we go ahead and do that again. Now there's a number 2. So now she's capped out at the 4 maximum range that she can have. So the next time that you actually go ahead and check the next skill, it is now no longer glowing. So now there's no other additional effects that you can get besides actually selecting the skill for its benefits. So yeah, that's how that works and what that glowing part means if you guys don't know why that's there. Her talent is a huge pros and cons. So it just really makes you think about like what you want. So if we go into her unique skills, once she is a passive when forced into battle, she isn't affected by melee damage reduction. When taking fatal damage from physical attacks, instead of dying, she gets to revive and will perform 1 spell preparation that has a 5-turn cooldown. During that whole process, that spell preparation cannot be performed. So what does that mean exactly? When Virelia dies from a physical attack, right? She'll randomly get a spell preparation. So it looks like that we got the permanent range. I said permanent range. We got the range. And then if we go ahead and check Virelia right now, once he's on a 5-turn cooldown, and then we do get the range one. So you can still act again, you can get something else. You just can't get the one that you have currently, obviously. So go ahead and do that and just use like any kind of skill. And that does go away, unfortunately. So yeah, after attacking Sherry right there, she lost both of her spell preparation. And the thing that kind of sucks about this is that whenever she does act again, she cannot get that because of that 1C right there. Which can suck too, whenever you need like Eradicate for the double attack, Catalyze for maybe the skill cooldown. It really sucks, it's really RNG. But hey, she gets to come back alive. And what's also great about it is that she does get her revive back after that 5-turn cooldown. If you don't believe me, watch this. Sherry goes and attack her again, they trade kill, but Virelia is still alive. And what's even better combined with that is her unique 2C. It's a single target skill. For each spell preparation, it does more damage. After attacking, reduces all of her trigger cooldown by 1. So yeah, my Virelia does have 2 spell So both of these trigger, and yes, I do mean both of her trigger cooldown, her talent, her 1C effect, can both get lowered. It's gonna get lowered by 2. So let's go ahead and attack Jessica. Her magic defense is gonna be quite high, so we're not gonna be able to kill her. Plus, Virelia is quite low. So after doing all that, it should be a 2-turn cooldown. Or 1 actually, because her turn ends. So yeah, that is really good. That is gonna be really amazing to carry around to have her stay consistent. Which is something that you'll use in like maybe regular content. In PvP, it's definitely a skill that you might see people use. You might even see people run Dark Reaper instead for the healing too. It really all depends on preference. So finally, let's show off her 3C. 4-turn cooldown, which is 3 blocks long. The passive on it, when dealing damage with the skill, it does fixed damage. If the target's HP is not higher than 20%, this fixed damage ignores immunity. It's an AoE skill that applies 2 random debuffs for each enemy eliminated, performs 1 random spell preparation to taking action. Now there's a few things that I can also do. One of them is first, you're going to use Eliminate skill. Eliminate, Eradicate, yeah, Eliminate right there. And then we are going to choose, of course, her 3C. So what this 3C does, it applies 2 debuffs, right? But because of the double attack, it can actually apply 4 debuffs. And what you also saw is that she got her other spell preparation, and it's because we got those spells that she was able to stack up her range in an instant. So yeah, the range thing, the 4 debuffs that can also apply, that you can get using this 3C. Now I did only get 2 right there, but if you do get 3 kills, you do still get the other ones before using her 3C. And it does seem like if you do kill like 2 enemies, if you have like 1 spell on her, you do end up getting the other spell that you didn't have. Meanwhile, the one that you had beforehand is the only one that you don't get. You just end up getting the other ones that you didn't have on her anyways. Which I feel like is really nice, so that you have her range build up instantly. So yeah, I find that really cool. So, overall, Virelia is great on one side and kinda okay on the other. Her greatest strength shines in PvP the most. It's where you can see her decimating the other opponent's team, just absolutely nuking them with her AoEs. She just hits insanely hard. Combine that with her double attack plus the fixed damage that she does, it makes her attack a strong kill confirm. You'll definitely see some kills with the click of a button. Even if she doesn't kill, they're most likely going to be really weak, so the pressure is already set. Her double attack is something that you'll mainly see always. It's where most of her damage are going to come from, sometimes even her extra range as well. Her capability to nuke with the AoEs is what makes her insanely strong, OP even, especially if you somehow get her extra range on top of that as well. In regular content, you'll most likely witness what her weakest points are. It takes her at least 6 to 9 turns to fully set up with her range, and it's the fact that she's just a pure damage dealer. Now there's nothing exactly wrong with that. It's more like I could think of using somebody else like Girl in the Shell or Lucretia, since not only do they do damage from afar, but they can also apply debuffs. Plus Girl in the Shell really only takes 2 turns to set up her range, so it's not really time consuming, especially if you have her exclusive. I do find myself using her from time to time, quite often really. And not only just debuffs, but they can also offer some form of support as well. See, with them, they do more than just doing damage. Whereas with Virelia, that's all she really knows. Sometimes I don't even bother trying to go for a maximum range because I would rather just pick the one that just lets her do a ton of damage. So in short, she requires some form of patience to get her the things that she wants, and just a pure damage dealer. Those are the only negatives that I can say about her. However, her positives is that she can be very flexible since she has a skill to buff her damage while being a strong damage dealer and being a mixed attacker, which really shows in PvP since she can absolutely wreck the other team with just 1 AoE. And you'll see that's really just enough for her to do her job. And if that's not enough, she can also have some insane range on top of that as well. Her explosive power really dominates in the PvP side, whereas in regular content, sometimes you do need more than that, but I think the characters that we already have right now can just do way more than her. Alright, so that was Virelia's showcase. Is she worth it? In regular content, if you really need a damage dealer, then yeah, you can make it work. But later down the line, when you get more characters like Lucretia and Lana, you're gonna realize that they're gonna be much more better since they do more than just attacking. Virelia can buff her own damage with a skill, so she'll be flexible in any kind of team. The main skills that you're going to be using is either like her Strengthen skill or her Revive skill, and then it's going to be her unique 2C and then Dark Reaper. Those are the skills that you're going to be using the most. In PvP, oh yes, she's quite OP. I already mentioned all the reasons why that is, so I'll just say briefly. She can nuke, buff her own damage, insane range, with not too terrible mobility as well. She does have Sky Archer. She'll make a fine addition to your Apex box, and the skills that you're going to be running is her 3C, her Strengthen skill, but if you have a faction buffer with her, then her Revive skill, and then Heaven Sanction, or maybe a single target skill like her unique one, or Dark Reaper. If you're someone who's really only focused on regular content, she can totally be skippable if you already have dependable characters. But that's all I got. If you guys did enjoy this video, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, want to see more, and feel free to let me know down in the comments how you guys feel about Virelia, or if there was anything more that you would like to add about her. So yeah, thanks for watching. Your fellow Z.